Mrs. Tinkerer decided that she needed an organizer for her hair care products. She drew this picture on the computer and sent it to me and asked me if I could build it. Some of the features include holes in the top to hold things like her hair dryer, her curling iron, her straightening iron, her waffle iron, her 9-iron, all those things that ladies use on their hair. A hook on the side to hold hair bands, and some drawers in the front to hold things like hair bows and clips. So, with a little alteration, let's build this thing for her. The first thing we got to do is rip some plywood down. And we're going ahead and ripping the edges at 45 degrees so that when we join them, we'll have a nice mitered corner. Now we're going to cut them to length also with the 45 so that we can continue that miter on all the sides. I've set up a stop block to make sure everything is the exact length. Now a little dry assembly. Now to make the top. Again, we're going to rip the sides at a 45-degree angle, and then we cut them to length with a 45. So now everything fits together nicely with miters on all sides. But before we assemble it permanently, we've got to make all of our cuts on the tops and side. So here I'm marking out for an opening for a drawer on the front. Mrs. Tinkerer's conceptual drawing had 3 drawers on the front, but we're changing this to 1 large drawer because of space limitations. To make the initial horizontal cuts for the drawer opening, I've set the fence the required distance from the blade, and slowly I raise the blade up so that it penetrates through the wood and makes those cuts. And here you can see we have both horizontal cuts made. Now we switch over to the scroll saw to finish up the vertical cuts. We're using painter's tape on the face of the box to hold the miters all tight and close and act as a hinge as we glue it up. So now you see we can fold it up and the miters are tight, and then we're going to tack it with a few brads to hold it while the glue dries. Now let's turn our attention to the top of the box. There'll be 3 holes in the top, varying sizes, to hold all of the heavy equipment used to get the hairdo just right. Here I'm marking and laying out for the different holes. And here I'm using a compass to draw those holes. There'll be a 2-inch hole, a 2.5-inch hole, and a 3-inch hole. The first hole is the 2-inch hole. It's pretty easy with the Forstner bit, but the 2.5-inch hole almost made me quit woodworking and take up another hobby. You can see it gets stuck in my wood. With considerable effort, I finally got it unstuck, but there was no way this drill press was going to drill it. The reason being that the end of the Forstner bit, where it guides it into the hole, is threaded, so it acts like a screw screwing itself in, and it gets caught. You think I'd learned the first time. I got an idea, let's try this drill. Same thing, just not enough power to drive that thing through. So I bust out the 5/8 hammer drill. Surely this one will do it. I thought wrong. I don't know if they make a drill that would drill this thing through a piece of wood. Finally, what I had to do is take the tip out. It's only held in with a set screw. Once I did that, it plowed right through it. To cut the 3-inch hole, I use my adjustable circle cutter. This thing is truly frightening. It consists of a piece of sharpened steel held on a horizontal shaft with nothing but a set screw and a prayer. What could go wrong? My drill press isn't quite powerful enough to drill it all the way through, so we're going to finish it up over here on the scroll saw. Then to clean the hole up and make it perfectly round, we'll use the oscillating spindle sander. And we've created a spaghetti portion gauge. Before we put the top on, we've got to put a divider above the drawer so that the hair dryers and the curling irons don't fall down and interfere with the drawer operation. Now we're going to tack it in place with a few brads. Now we're going to glue on the top. And along with the glue, we'll brad it as well. Let's turn our attention to the drawer construction. I've planed some poplar down to roughly 1/2 inch thick, and now I'm ripping it to width for the drawer sides and back and front. Using glue and a few headless pin nails, we're going to assemble the carcass of the drawer. Now we got to make a drawer front. Using a 1/4 inch roundover bit in the router, I'm giving the edge of the drawer front a decorative detail. And after a little bit of light sanding, we're going to glue the drawer front to the front of the drawer body. And to hold it while the glue dries, a few more headless pin nails. Here I've added a drawer bottom made out of 1/4 inch Luan plywood. Now we're going to fill all the nail holes and cracks with some wall spackle. The drawer doesn't function very smoothly because there's too much gap at the sides that guide the drawer. So we're going to add some blocks to fill in that gap. Like a glove. I'm going to go ahead and temporarily mount our hardware before we paint it, just so we get our holes drilled and make sure everything's lined up right. Mrs. Tinkerer picked out a crystal looking pull and then this double hook on the side to hold the headbands. To keep the drawer from pulling all the way out and spilling the contents, I'm making some tabs to go on the back of it. I'm going to round the edges so they're not so sharp. Now we're going to screw them onto the back of the drawer. We're going to leave the screws slightly loose so that the brackets can pivot. Folded into the up position, it allows the drawer to be inserted into the body. But then when you flip them down, it prevents the drawer from pulling out all the way. But if you ever need to remove the drawer, You just flip them back up and it comes right out. Mrs. Tinkerer picked out this metallic silver gray color for the organizer. I ended up applying a total of 5 coats to get the finish to where I wanted it to be. Well, here we have the finished product. I think it turned out pretty good. You have the drawer on the front for your hair clips and ties. On the side, your hair bands can hang on the hook. And on the top, you've got the holes for the hair dryer and the various irons. This thing would be right at home, sitting on a vanity. Or like in Mrs. Tinkerer's case, hanging on the wall. I just fastened it into the stud with some screws through the back behind the drawer. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, thanks for watching.